Welcome everyone to our weekly Forex market analysis, and this is in preparation for the week of August 21st to 25th, 2017. Just a quick disclaimer before we get started. Trading is a risky business, so please be careful with your money, and this is for educational purposes only, especially in the summer here, especially in the month of August. The market conditions are similar to Christmas, where there is thin liquidity in the market. A lot of traders are taking time off over the summer before we get back into it in September. So there isn't, what that basically means is that the moves can be much stronger than we would normally expect them to. They can run for quite some time. So just be careful with that. And the best way to handle these conditions is to just trade with smaller trade size than you're normally used to. So just keep that in mind. And if you have questions about your individual investment needs, I recommend you talk to your investment advisor. All right, so we'll start off by taking a look at our Forex factory, the calendar, first of all, because we need to understand what's going on in the markets in the upcoming week here. So starting the week off, Monday, it's not much in terms of our major news. So Monday may be a bit of a range-bound market here. Tuesday, we have British pound public sector net borrowing and ZEW economic sentiment. Those numbers do tend to be important, so we'll keep an eye on those. In the US session, New York session here, is just the core retail sales where the Canadian dollar has been quite strong, especially with the central bank raising rates. And last Friday, we saw positive data come out for CAD as well. So the inflation data was positive. So as a result, the Canadian dollar has become quite strong. So core retail sales, if they come out positive, that will add to that. Going on Wednesday here, the biggest thing will be the ECB President Draghi speaking. Although he did mention last week that he wasn't going to really make any announcements about monetary policy. ECB has been talking about cutting back on their monetary policy, cutting back on the asset purchase program. So as a result of that, euro has been going up. So anytime the monetary policy is less accommodating, it is positive for the currency. So he did mention last week that he was not going to make any announcements about the monetary policy. So as a result, this may not be as critical because we did see the impact from it last week. However, anytime any of the central bankers are speaking, it is important to pay attention to it. So keep that in mind when trading this. PMI numbers are coming out as well, and those are leading indicators, so that those will have an impact here. And we have crude oil inventories, New Zealand trade balance, Thursday. So not a ton of critical data this week, which is good. We have second estimate GDP. GDP numbers will be important for the British pound because British pound or Bank of England is kind of at that point where the inflation is going up and things are moving along, so they kind of need to, market is expecting them to make a decision on their monetary policy. But I think going forward, Brexit is going to become, or it's going to come out more in the news, and we'll hear a lot more comments about it, especially as we go into the fall here. So I think that's what's really holding BOE back. And as a result, pound is not quite the favorite right now. Even though euro has been doing well, pound has not done as well because of those Brexit concerns. And I think we'll hear a lot more about them, or they will become an issue. Are you guys still able to hear me? All right, so as a result, that will become an issue. Are you guys able to hear me? Just want to confirm that we are still on. Yes, okay. Perfect, thank you. Okay, so going into Friday here, we have German IFO business climate, the core durable goods for the US, and biggest thing again on Friday, we have President Draghi speaking again, and we go into the Jackson Hole Symposium. So ECB will be the highlight of the week, essentially. So let's move on to the charts here. We're looking at Euro US dollar weekly chart. So in this case, what we see here is two rejections of this lower level here. So price looks to be in a range at the moment. For the last 3 weeks, we haven't really broken below this, excuse me, so this range. So at this point, excuse me, okay, so at this point, so I am a little under the weather today, so please bear with me. So at this point, I am still, the overall bias for euro dollar is bullish. However, price has been ranging in this range here. So we do need to see a break of the range. The price did try to test the lower part of the range and try to break out of it. It did not happen. So now we are still stuck in exactly the same price points where we were the week previous. So right now we're going to see this as, we'll keep this as a range-bound market. And with Draghi speaking twice this coming week, I think Euro should be driven by news coming up. So how do we trade this? In this case, the best way to trade this would be as a range bound market. So once price comes into this 1.1650 level, we're looking for a potential opportunity to buy. Unless the price breaks out of this range, then we're expecting it to go to this next level, which is 1.1536, or even slightly lower. Right into here. So biggest thing will be based on what Draghi says. If ECB is, or Draghi is more hawkish in his comments, then we're likely to see it go higher. But Euro could come under pressure as a result. So we do have to keep that in mind. So the question is, how do we trade breakouts? The best way to trade breakouts is to wait for price to break out first and then look for a retest. So I'm not taking this first break out of the range. I'm waiting for price to go back and test this 1.1650 level again. And once price holds below that, then we're looking for price to go lower. But in the meantime, for now, we're just going to look for I'm going to look for a 1.1650 level and see how price reacts to this level. If it stays above, then I'm looking for a bounce off of that level to the upside. However, if Draghi comes out with hawkish comments, then it'll be good for the euro. If he talks about things like, they're still considering kind of winding down the asset purchase program. So that will be a positive comment for euro, and we should see euro shoot up. And however, if he says we're going to wait and see, or euro is too expensive at the moment, those kind of comments will be negative for euro. So we just have to watch and see what happens and then trade it that way. For now, it is holding this 1.1650 level. So it is bullish above this level. As long as it stays above this level, it is bullish. So we're looking for it to trade between 1.1920 to the upside and 1.1650 to the downside. Pound here, excuse me, pound is bearish. So we had a big weekly bearish pin bar. Since then, pound has moved lower. So in this case, our target here has been met to the downside. So next target to the downside is 1.2640. So just a comment about all the U.S. crosses here. There is a lot of political influence or impact on the U.S. dollar crosses. U.S. dollar has been weak because there have been concerns about the promises not being fulfilled, or we have not, or the markets have not seen some of the things like tax reforms and things like that. As a result of that, all the positivity that was in the market is kind of coming out of it. After the election, we saw US dollar go up, and so all of that is kind of unwinding at the moment. So US dollar has taken a hit, and we have the North Korea situation to deal with as well, as long as there are threats. So last week we saw Japanese yen go up, and we also saw so Japanese yen, I don't mean the crosses go up, Japanese yen got stronger, so everything dropped against Japanese yen, and Swiss franc got stronger as well. That was because of the geopolitical risks. Um, So when there is talk about attacks and things like that, safe haven currencies tend to grow stronger. So safe haven currencies, Swiss franc, Japanese yen, both of those are safe haven currencies. As a result, those currencies will go up, which means that those crosses will drop. So just keep that in mind. If we hear more comments, Twitters, tweets and things like that, and also comments coming out of North Korea on how they have these missiles that can strike the U.S. and stuff like that. That creates uncertainty in the markets, and as a result, people will tend to go, or investors will tend to go towards safe haven currencies. So just keep that in mind. That's why the Japanese yen trades were really good last week. So with the pound here, because of Brexit uncertainty and everything else, the pound is weak, and in this case, I'm looking for price to move down lower. 126.40 area. This looks like a good area, or even 125.80 area looks good as well in terms of the price dropping. But if there is more uncertainty from the US, this could change. So always keep that in mind, because right now a lot of that political risk is driving the markets. So this is bearish and looking for price to move down into this 25.80 level, or at least the 1.2600 level. This is from our daily here. Price hasn't moved much in the last few days, so we have to look for price to break down before we can take this. It is sitting low at this point, and when price tends to sit in one point, one of two things will happen. If it holds high, it can go higher. So right now it's holding the low, so chances are that it will come lower. But prior to that, it could push up higher. So keep that in mind. It could push up into this level here, about 129.50. So do keep that in mind. So the type of move we may see is price bouncing off of this and then doing another drop. And in that case, this will be our first target here, 1.2780 level, which is this previous support and resistance. And then we're looking for price to kind of do another one of these. So the target is 1.2600 to the downside, and I am bearish on pound dollar. Aussie dollar here. Aussie dollar looks like a bullish pin bar here. Price came into the bottom here and 7,800 level, and it has turned up. On the weekly, it did come and test low, this previous support and resistance level, but it has pushed back up now. So at this point, based on the weekly here, this looks bullish, looks like a bullish pin bar. So I'm expecting the price to go up towards the top here into 80 level. And looking at the daily here, as we can see, price bounced off of this level here. Didn't quite come to the bottom. I was looking for price to come slightly lower, so didn't quite get there into the 77.80 level, but it just came into the 7,800, held that level, and has kind of gone up now. This is a bullish engulfing candle on the daily, so we're looking for price to continue higher. So Aussie dollar looks bullish at the moment. New Zealand dollar here. New Zealand has been interesting. It has been coming down. However, now on the weekly, we do have a rejection of this level, 72.20 level. So 72.20 level, this is where the price has come into support here. So price has rejected this level, moved up higher. So based on that, this looks bullish now. In terms of our targets, we could probably go all the way to the top here, 75.50 to the upside. However, price could come and kind of do a double bottom test of this level and then go up higher. So keep that in mind, but the first target will be this one right here, 7,400, and price would have to break this, because this is an important resistance. So if price comes into this level, we do need to see a break up higher, because it could get stuck here and then move down lower. So that sort of move would look like this. So price would be making lower highs. So that's the only risk to this trade, because overall New Zealand dollar is weaker as compared to Australian dollar. So Australian dollar looks stronger at the moment, and it has been stronger this week as well. So just keep that in mind. We have to make sure. Right now it looks bullish. It looks like it wants to move up higher. So 7,400 will be the first target. If it doesn't break, then we're looking for price to move lower. But if it breaks this level, the next target is 75.50. All right, so next is dollar CAD. Dollar CAD, like I mentioned, has been very strong. So Canadian dollar has been very strong. So dollar CAD has been dropping. So based on this one here, it looks, this is a bearish pin bar, and we are expecting price to move down lower. The positive data certainly helped with Canadian dollar. We had a pound CAD trade last week that did well. And this is what I'm expecting price to do. So looking for price to continue lower because it is strong. We may see a bit of a pullback, and pullback level could go into this right here, 126.50, and then I'm looking for price to drop. So overall, my bias is to the downside on this, like that. So looking for my target will be 124.20 level. Looking for it to continue lower here. So as we can see, price broke down here. Now I'm looking for a pullback and then a further drop to the downside here. Euro Swiss. This one here is a very neutral close for the day. As we can see, price did not do much over the last 2 weeks in terms of really having a direction. Right now we have, and part of it was because of all the tweets and North Korea situation. Market was feeling the risk as a result of that, where euro was so strong against the Swiss franc. That turned because of escalation in North Korea situation. So if we still see more comments out of North Korea, Swiss franc is likely to strengthen, which means euro Swiss and other pairs could come down against this. So right now, this is range bound, completely range bound for the last 3 weeks. We haven't broken to any side on this. So right now, 1.1250. So 1250 will be the target to the downside, and we need to see a break. So price could come into this level. And if everything is well in the world, then we are likely to see a bounce like that. So looking for a potential buy at 1.1250 level. And once the price continues higher, if everything stays well, it will continue higher. But if we start seeing more risk in the market, situation, North Korea situation escalating, that type of thing, we're likely to see a breakdown of this level, 1250. So once the price breaks below 1250, I'm looking for price to push back into that level, and then if it holds below, then I'm looking for price to continue lower. So that's the type of move that I'm looking for. For now, though, it is range bound because price hasn't broken these levels in the last 2 weeks. So as a result, I'm going to treat 1.1250 as a lower bound of the range. So looking for a potential buy there and looking for a potential sell at 1.1520 level to the upside there. And if we go into the daily, as we can see, that's all price has done. It is making, giving us a downward sloping trend line here. So if price keeps pressuring this level here, then we're likely to see a break of that. So we could see price kind of go lower and test this level. So if price goes up higher, so we're likely to see one of these things, right? And then a break. But I would look for a break and a price to hold below 1250 before I start taking a breakout trade here. So for now, I'm just looking for price to continue in this range, and then if political or geopolitical situation escalate, then I'm looking for price to start coming down again. All right, so in pound Swiss here, pound Swiss, this is the daily. Daily certainly bounced. On the weekly basis, though, this looks more, so Euro Swiss franc was more neutral. This one still has a downward slope to it. excuse me. So this looks more bearish than Euro Swiss does just because pound has been bearish. So this is I'm bearish on this one, looking for price to continue lower into the 122.50 level. So that's pound Swiss. Dollar Swiss here, looking at the okay, looking at the charts here, this is a rejection of this level. So 3 times price tested that level and it has broken down from there. So right now, looking for price to continue lower. It does need to break this level because this level has been important here as well. So right now, this is a rejection, 3 rejection of this particular level. So I'm looking for price to continue lower. The target in this case would be 94.50 level, the bottom of this candle here. So just looking for it to continue lower. Need to see a break of 95, 94-ish level here for a continuation to the downside. Pound yen. Weekly close, bearish, just like with all the other pairs here. The target here is 138.50. So that's what I'm looking for in terms of this one here. Just keep in mind, though, we have had some big runs, especially in the Japanese yen. So things could change. Just keep that in mind. Anytime we have big runs, we are likely to see pullbacks like this. So just keep that in mind. We are into support in this one when looking at a daily chart right over here, which means that we could push slightly higher before the price drops again. So I may be looking for a retest of this 141.20 level. First target would be 139.80 to the downside, and then I'm looking for a push up there and a drop. So 138.50-ish level is the target to the downside. So bearish for pound yen. Okay, euro yen. Euro yen looks bearish as well, but we are into support here. So we'll have to wait for price to clear this support. It is bouncing off of that right now. But as you can see, this has been our range for the last little while. Last few weeks, price hasn't really been able to break the level to the upside, and now we are into this support level. So that's a strong support level, and so we need to see a break of 127.40 or 50 level here. So in this case, just because, so when we take a look at the daily, as we can see, price is rejecting this previous level here. So we could see price bounce up slightly before it continues lower, and we do need to monitor the geopolitical situations in regards to all Japanese yen trade, because that will have a big impact on the price here as well. So in this case, we could see a push up into 128.80 and then a drop, or even into this level here, a 129.20 level, and then a drop to the downside. So in this case, first target is 127.50, second target is 125.80 here, which is our previous support and resistance level. Overall, the bias is to the downside, but 127.50 is strong support. So keep that in mind so that it doesn't go range bound on us. Once the 127.50 breaks, then we're looking for a move to the downside. Okay, let me see if I can get rid of all my, this was a trade I was demonstrating that we had taken in the trade room. So I have my chart all marked up. So in terms of the weekly here, I think this is kind of hard to see. We get rid of the, okay. So weekly chart here, this looks like a rejection of this level, 87.50 level. So looking for a further move to the downside, this gives it a bearish bias here. So I'm looking for a move into 85.50 level here, the bottom of this pin. And once we break that level, I am looking for a further move to the downside, 86.50-ish level to the downside here. So those will be the targets to the downside. Aussie yen looks bearish here. Dollar yen. Dollar yen, we are into this support, so we've been bearish on this, and price is moving, it has come into the support. Bias is still to the downside. Look at the big rejection pin up top there. So the target here is 108.30 level, which is really close, and then we may come into a strong support here because right now we have 107.50 level, which will act as a support, and below that we are going to 106.35 or even into the top here, 106.50-ish level. So those will be the levels to the downside. It does look bearish, but do keep in mind now we are starting to come into support that we haven't seen since 2016, which means that the moves will become a little bit harder, so price will be challenged a bit more at these levels. The bias is to the downside. 10800 will be the first target, 107.50 the second, 106.50 the third target to the downside. Perfect. So let's go on to what it was, gold that you guys wanted to look at, right? Let me find my gold chart here. Here we go. Gold daily close is bearish on the gold. Let's take a look at week here. The week is, so we are into resistance here. I always go to the lower time frame to place my trades. I mark my levels from the higher time frame. So on a weekly basis, this is what I do to start my week. I go to the different charts that I'm looking at, and I will mark my levels so that I have a bit of a roadmap as to what I'm looking at for the week. And as the week progresses, those targets and the market direction could change. So every night I do this type of analysis, except from the daily charts. When I go place my orders, though, I'm looking at smaller time frames, so either 5-minute, 15-minute, or an hourly. So I'm not necessarily using the levels from those time frames, but I am just looking for the price at those levels and how it reacts to the levels that are I have marked either from the previous day or from our weekly analysis. So that's how I tend to take my trades. All right, so gold here, very neutral close for the week. We did see price react at the top here on the daily chart. We'll go back to that in a minute. But overall, though, on a weekly basis, this looks very neutral. So we have wick at the top, wick in the bottom, and very, very neutral close. So in this case, excuse me. In this case, I'm looking for price to come down lower towards 1267 level here, or basically I'm looking at a range-bound market because the close has been so neutral. So when price gets to 1300, I'm looking for price to drop from there and come back towards the bottom of the range, 1267 here. That's when we may see the buyers step in, and I'm looking for a potential buy there. So when you do your daily analysis, this is when I would look at the levels and see how the price is reacting at those levels. If the price breaks down from here, then I would look for a further move. But right now, this looks very neutral. So based on the daily close here, it looks like it wants to come down a little bit lower. It may do a back test again into this. But the US dollar has not been very strong. And if the US dollar is not strong, gold tends to go up generally. They're just negatively correlated. So just keep that in mind. But overall, very, very neutral close. So I would monitor the two levels that we have, which are right here. So if price breaks down this 12 through this to the downside in below 1267, then 1250 level looks good, or 1243 level looks good. Beyond that, actually, let's just take it out. So this is how I would place my levels, and I would keep an eye on it. Any other questions? All right, so no other questions. We'll call it a wrap. You guys have a wonderful trading week, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.